All right, guys, it's time for me to give you my first impressions for Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. How good is this game? First of all, let me say this. I have not watched a review yet for this game. I have no idea what Metacritic says. I haven't read anybody's blog post about this game. This is just me telling you guys what I think, not influenced by anybody else's opinions about this game. This game is great. Amazing, fantastic. I mean, I could throw out all kind of words to describe this game. Normally when I post a first impressions video, 3-4 days after the release of a game, that I've had a bad time. It's a buggy mess. I haven't been able to put enough time into the game to even form an impression of it because of all the bugs and glitches, but not the case with this game, guys. This is the first time I've been able to just put the controller down, sit down in front of a microphone and talk. That's how good this game is. I've been getting footage together. I'm already 3 episodes deep in writing my road to completion guide for this game. I haven't personally seen any bugs and glitches. I'm sure that they're in the game. They're in all games, but I haven't experienced any. So far, the gameplay has been fluid. The music's great, sound effects, the whole 9, right? It's so good. The environment they put you in with this game, oh my God. Something about the way that From Software makes a video game where you start off at the beginning, yet you can see where you're going, right? I don't want to, well, I mean, if you've played Dark Souls games, you know what I'm talking about, right? But you kind of can see, I'm pretty sure I can go to that place that looks like I can't go to it. I'm gonna be able to go there. And then From Software always lets us go there, right? We don't know at what point in our journey we're gonna make it there or how we're gonna get there, but we make it there. And a lot of times when we get there, we're like, oh my God, now I can see the place I started the game from. You see what I'm saying? This game is no different. I remember reaching that point in the story, and it's very early on in the story. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good view right there. And then, hours later, I'm looking back at where I was and I was like, oh my God, this is so great. Because a lot of times in games like this, man, you start playing and 5-6 chapters in, you're in some other part of the world, somewhere in some jungle when you started off in some whatever, your city or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. And you can't really see where you've been. That's not the magic of From Software games. You can always, everything's so interconnected. And with this game, guys, they've taken it to the nth degree because of the vertical space used in this game. Every 5, 10, 15 seconds, guys, I'm looking up with my camera, down with my camera, because I know that I'm gonna be able to see an item that's below me on some ledge or some grappling hook thing above me that I can latch onto, whether it's a tree limb or the side of a building or whatever, right? My head is just on a swivel with this game, looking in all different directions because I know that there's some loot around the corner waiting on me. And it always rewards me for going and looking. That's another beautiful thing about this game, guys. With items in games that you pick up around the world map, there's either too many of them, right? It's overly done, or there's not enough. There's a lot of place to explore, but every time you turn that corner, nothing's there. And at some point, the game just turns you off from exploring altogether, right? Not this game. The music, the sound, the cutscenes, they really are taking the story of this game. They're really putting it at the forefront. I feel like there's a really good balance between the two. Yes, you can still find items and lores inside of the descriptions and stuff like that. And there's items you can take back and give to NPCs, and they'll give you more information about the world that you're not going to find in the cutscene. But there's a lot of dialogue between the NPCs. I don't want to give too much of it away, but there is what can I call it? A presence within the game that will affect all the NPCs. And it's determined by what you do in the game, and it can have a really big effect on the world and the environment that you're in. That's all I'll say about it, but you have to really be careful about the choices that you make sometimes. So they've really taken a more heads-up approach to delivering us the story for this game. And I personally like that. I'm sure there's going to be some From Software fans that may not like that, but I think that they found a really good balance here. They haven't said, hey, nothing's going to be in the item descriptions, no more lore that way. It's only going to be, story through cutscenes and stuff like that. They haven't done that. It's to me, it's a really healthy balance between the two. So with all that said, let's talk about the freaking combat, because that's what everybody wants to know about. How good is the combat? It is so freaking good. I remember playing Dark Souls and learning the strategies for the enemies, right? There's a couple different ways you can fight the enemies, and once you understand that, you're good. With this game, there's so many different enemies in this game, different enemy types, and they all fight you differently. Each one of them has a specific like martial art style they use to fight you, and you have to fight them based on their martial art. It really does affect the way that you take them on. There are certain enemies that you can spam the attack button and you will just murder them. 1, 2, 3 hits, they're dead. They will never block you. You just shove your sword straight through their throat and they're dead, right? Then you find these enemies that have a like kind of armor on, little chest armor on or whatever, and they got a hat on. I'm just giving you some examples here, and you'll hit them maybe twice, and then they'll automatically hit you one time if you don't block. It's automatic. That is their specific routine, right? You can back away for a few seconds, you hit them twice, you'll get those 2 hits in, and just when you think it's time to spam them like you did the other enemies, they will always hit you. So you have to be ready to block on that 3rd hit. And all the enemies in this game have their own specific way of fighting them. It is absolutely fantastic. The combat is never boring. Never boring. And I think I'm about 80% done with the game at this point. Just based on, well, I don't want to give too much of it away, but there's a way that you can tell how many areas you have left in the game. And I feel like I'm about 80% done with the game. So in the next two days or so, I should have it, my first playthrough, finish my first playthrough. So I've experienced a ton of enemies. Now let's talk about boss fights and mini boss fights. So this game has mini bosses and then actual bosses, right? And sometimes the mini bosses can be tougher than the actual bosses. There are some games out there that need to take a clue from Software when it comes to creating mini boss fights. I wish that some games out there's actual bosses were as tough as some of the mini bosses in this game, right? And don't get me wrong, every boss in this game has a flaw, a weakness that you can exploit. All games are built that way. And of course, that's what I'm having to figure out now for you guys when it comes to the RTC, because I don't think that all of you guys are going to be able to nail down the deflection mechanic, which is the main mechanic of this game when it comes to combat. So I'm going to have to build the RTC guide with strategies to cheese enemies with and stuff like that, because I'm here to get you guys your trophies. But I'm personally playing and I'm going through deflecting stuff, man. I'm going through learning how to parry, and it is such a good feeling, man, when you own a boss and you own them basically by blocking all of their attacks. That's how you break their posture. There is something so satisfying about just going in there and being defensive and then being able to kill them, right? And you're only attacking them one time. So you defense, you break their posture, you stab them in the throat, bam, baby, they are dead. There's something phenomenal about that. And I feel like every 10, 15 minutes, I'm getting into a mini boss fight or an actual boss fight. There's not these long times, like these 2-hour long stretches where I'm just killing regular enemies, right? It's like every 15, 20 minutes, as long as I'm exploring, right, pushing the action, I will come across the mini boss or I will come across a boss. Let me say this too, guys. If you can't get the deflection technique down, if you can't get in there and you don't feel comfortable being close to the enemy and fighting them and swords clanging and all that kind of stuff, you can be stealth. There are ways to take off mini bosses as health. Like you can take off half their health gauge by sneaking around them and getting a little stealth attack on them, right? And that cuts their HP in half. And there's even a lot of the Dark Soul type strategies that I've taught you guys before to use. When we did those RTCs, the circle strafe and all this that stuff still works in this game on certain enemies. It can still be done. So if you think that the only way you can get in here and complete this game is to get close to an enemy and use the deflection technique, nah, not the case, man. There are ways to do this game. There are ways to play this game where you don't have to get in there and be nervous about the fighting. So that's it, guys. Between the music and the story and the mini bosses and the bosses and the environments and all the places you can explore and all the items you can find. And man, I'm telling you, man, this game, especially because I'm coming off Metro Exodus, and you guys know I had a iffy time with that game. I don't know if I've posted my final thoughts for that game yet as a time you guys are watching this, but if I haven't, the final thoughts video is coming and I'll tell you guys more in detail. But I'm coming off that game, started off this year with Resident Evil 2, took a little dip with Metro Exodus, but we're back with Shadows Die Twice, guys. This game is so good. If I had $1 million, I would buy all of you guys a $60 copy of this game. I swear to you, I would, man. It's so good. If you're on the fence, I'm telling you, man, get it, play it. If you're concerned about the trophies and the combat, I will have you guys covered in, I don't know, maybe 15 to 30 days. I'm already on episode 3 of my road to completion guide for you guys. I'm still building that. I will take care of you. Trust me, we will get through this game. I will make it as easy as I possibly can for you guys, and we can get you your platinums. But man, get in there, play this game. If you have played it, let me know in the comments what you think about it. I am having an absolute blast. Guys, I'll see you in the next one. Be good.